This is Araceli and Colette from the ACDC show. And today the show is all about how to avoid pitfalls when you buy a fixer-upper. And welcome. So my name is Araceli, and I am a transition wealth advisor, helping professional women to rearrange their finances so they can get better, faster, and they can retire sooner. So I'm here with Colette. Colette, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Colette Raba. I am a realtor in the GTA. I like to work West End, which means anywhere from South Etobicoke all the way to Burlington and anything in between. And if you have any questions, this is why we do the show. We'd love to hear them. So please help us help you and ask those questions.
That's great, Colette. So today, as we said, we're going to be talking about the pitfalls of buying a fixer-upper.
Yes.
Get started?
Well, yes, I have a wonderful keynote that I'd like to share if you're all ready.
Yes, sure.
All right, let's do it. So try to keep it really short, but let's see what we have here. So obviously, if everybody knows the resale home sales in Ontario or even in the GTA, really anything, this means anything that is already standing. So if it's a pre-built and resale, you're not buying it directly from the builder, we consider it a resale. And a lot of those homes are older and they might be fixer-uppers. And the amount of work a house needs is very, very different. Obviously, you know, we've seen a lot of houses. If you are in the market currently, you've probably seen a lot of houses too, and some of them need more work than others. So really we wanted to, and this is something that my clients ask me quite a lot too, is what do I have to worry about or what do I have to think about when I want to buy, when I'm okay with buying a fixer-upper? So you like buying homes that need work. I like buying homes that need work. My background, as you know, or you may know, is my Airbnb property in Prince Edward County. And that was a huge fixer-upper. The house was built in 1886 and the kitchen was an addition. And I pretty much had to do, I don't know, what do you think? Like 80% reno?
Yeah.
90?
Yeah, and this is exactly what I did. And remember, most real estate investors, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for a fixer-upper because that way you can actually put value into it and appreciate it faster, right?
Right.
The same, my very first house was a fixer-upper, lots and lots of things that I had to do there. And lots of the properties that I bought in the US as where they were, all of them were fixer-uppers. So there is from a little bit of work to tremendous amount of work. And this is what we wanted to talk to you about. If you've never done a fixer-upper, what to avoid. Maybe you want to have kind of in this, like the gamma of you know, the spectrum from here to here.
Right.
What you want to do. You want to do just a little bit of work, maybe just a paint job that would do it. Or you want to do like maybe taking walls and
major
changing plumbing, things like that, that it's like major. So between that and there, you can have a fixer-upper, and depending on your experience, that might be easier.
Guess what? Even though I know what I know, you know what you know, you've done it how many times? I've done it how many times? There's still pitfalls. There's still something, and that's what I wanted to do this little presentation, because it's we forget. So the one thing, so let's get started. So the first thing you always have to keep in mind, never mind if you buy it for yourself or if you buy it as an investment or if you buy it as a flip, the one thing that you always want to keep in mind is resale. And what does the market look like at that time? When you want to sell it, maybe you want to hold on to it for 5 years. Maybe you want to sell it in 6 months. What are those things that you have to think about before you buy it? So resale is huge. So I love this picture because right away you can see somebody that could see the good bones, the good layout. They're not changing anything. The door is there. The island is still in the same place, but they've just lightened and brightened and made it way more like, what house would you rather buy?
Of course.
Right. So the main things you have to think about when you think of reselling it, doesn't matter if you sell it in 20 years from now, the things that are going to stay with the property are location, the good bones, the good amenities that are close by. And my favorite is to have it not on a main street, but when I help my clients, I always say, I like to see 2 streets away from a main street, because if there's any construction or anything, it's going to be the next street over. Never, usually, I don't want to say never, but usually not 2 or 3 streets over. So I always like to say, hey, think about it. Is this, walking distance to that main road, or is it going to be the next road right away? And please, if you can avoid main roads, that's always a harder sell.
Absolutely. But this is the one thing that a lot of people don't really have a good eye for. And that's the reason why a lot of the GTA homes, they decide to do staging.
Right.
Yeah,
don't get distracted by
possibility. Exactly. The staging is very nice. I love it. I love seeing houses that they are staged. However, you really need to look at what is the house look like. Don't worry about the colors. Don't worry about maybe like,
the light fixtures,
the layout. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. I have clients. Yeah, they're looking at the light fixtures going, well, that's from the 70s. I'm like, okay, but that's okay. It's like so easy to swap out.
Exactly.
And light fixtures, look at the difference just in this photo. The light fixtures, the difference of modernizing light fixtures. It's a really cheap fix. I love it. That's one of my favorite things to do in a house is to switch out the light fixtures.
That and paint.
It's so easy.
Yeah, that and paint. It will make a big change that you can't even see that it's the same house, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Oh my God.
So this is good.
So good. Yeah.
So that's number 1. Yeah.
Okay. So, and I didn't number them because I'm like, hey, they're all as important as one is as important as the other. So my other favorite thing, and it's something that I'm very, very guilty of, is avoid buying the emotional, like try to avoid being emotional about the purchase. And that is something that I have a hard time with sometimes, not really with my clients because I'm not emotional about them, but when I see them being emotional, I have to ask them, hey, listen, you know what? Think about this, think about the resale value. If you had to leave the country for whatever reason, like, what are you going to do? Can you leave? Can you rent it if that's a possibility in the future? Is this something that, you can't get over? And especially with an income property, is it too emotional? You can't rent it?
Yeah.
So this is also going to come into play later on. So I'm going to.
Absolutely. I think that I believe there's a lot of emotions in this kind of purchase because it's one of the biggest purchases that you're going to make. Of course, if it is for your own use, you're going to have attached to, you're getting married and this is so emotional.
Oh yeah.
That we're going to start a family and so on. So that is fantastic. But at the same time, try to keep objective about where it is. What you're going to be reselling it for. Is this a house that you can stay there for a long time if you need to? If you're buying the house only for, let's say, like 1 or 2 years, let's just say started a home, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know it's down the road. If there is a transition in your life that it won't allow you to upgrade or to change to the house of your dreams, then you have to make sure that the property that you're buying, it meets all these requirements. So that's why.
Well, even the step before that is I tell people don't fall in love with the house before you have the keys in your hand, because a few other legal issues could happen during the sale. So that's the other thing. Once the money has transferred and you have the keys in your hand and then the title is in your name, 100 things could happen before that. So don't get emotional. It's great. And the chances are very slim that something very bad will happen in the meantime, but it can't be 100%. So don't fall in love before you have those keys in your hand. I wish I had keys in my hand. I can show you. So that's why I said, don't do it before you have the keys in your hand. So number 3 is when you have this fixer-upper, you don't know what's behind the walls. So have a contingency plan for budget and time. because as my picture shows you, it's always a balance between time and money. So for me, I like to get my hands dirty when I have a fixer-upper. I can do the demo, I can do a lot of the renos myself. But if I don't have time, if I'm busy with my clients, I'm busy with other things that are way more important than, you know, fixing up a house, I can hire someone to do it. It'll cost me more money than my own time.
Absolutely.
But at least it's going to get done in a faster manner, probably. And that way, when it comes to budget, I might spend more than what I was, you know, thinking I would.
Yeah.
But in the end, it actually makes more sense to hire someone to do that work for me as opposed to me doing it. So that's just one example of time versus money.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I wanted to comment on this, Colette, is when you have the time versus money, right? Sometimes there's certain things that can't wait. For example,
Yes.
the biggest example that I can give you is a bathroom.
Yes, or
If
kitchen.
you're going to be
Kitchen
a
is it.
kitchen, yeah.
Yeah.
The kitchen, I will say, is the second, but the first is the bathroom, right? If you're going to be living in the house and you don't have a working bathroom, then you're going to have a problem, right?
100%, right.
So it might be worth it, just even though you have the ability, all the skills to do it, but you don't have the time, it's better to pay somebody to do the bathroom, get it all done, and then you can at least use it. Maybe you can finish.
Yeah.
You know, maybe the painting, you can leave it for later, but at least the working part of it is done. So
right, exactly. Yeah. So that's really something that you want to really think about when you are doing this, because that's what I mean. Like time or money, you do not, if you're going to live through a reno too, that's a whole other ball game. We should do it just on that. How to like prepare for that.
I did that once. I don't like it.
I've done it too. And I had 2 babies in the house and it was very difficult. It wasn't very long, and you know, there's a way to do it. So, you know, maybe we should do another, we'll do a show just on that. But anyway, like the other thing too, is I wrote on the slide that you want to have a contingency of about 15% on top of your budget. But some people argue, they think that's not enough. Especially like, think of COVID, because everything has gone up exponentially. Electrical, just the conduit and all the electrical parts that you need. Some say it's gone up 40%. So even though you've budgeted this in your head, like maybe a year or so ago, you always have to add. So maybe 15% is not enough. What do you usually do?
Well, if I'm going to do something for myself, I usually will go for like 30% minimum, right? Just because, you know what, when I'm doing something midway, I said, you know what, I think I need to do something else. And then you need something extra, right? If you're doing it for, like when I do flips, I usually try to keep very, very tight with the budget.
Yeah.
And just do things that are an emergency, right? Like something that cannot wait, or that was,
of course,
something
okay, that slide is coming. Is coming. So maybe 15% is not enough, but once you see the house and once you know what needs to be done, then you can adjust your contingency plan and have that extra money in your pocket or in your account just in case.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully you won't use it. So this is what I'm talking about for your contingency plan. You have to try and find these hidden issues before you buy. And the way you find these issues are by asking questions. Some of them, you know, it's just being prepared. And some of them is like, oh my gosh, I need more money to fix this problem. So I picked this photo just to scare everybody, because obviously it's not a hidden issue, you can see, but sometimes mold is a hidden issue. Once you take a wall down, you might actually see what's going on underneath, and then you have to deal with that. So there's other things too, like if you buy a condo, and sometimes it's a condo townhouse, you don't know that there's a condo board and they need to approve any of the renos before you do them. Is it a historic property? Oh my God, that's a whole can of worms right there. A homeowners association. Are there fees involved? Do they want permits? Is there any structural or physical issues that a home inspector may not see, like a sagging roof? You can see it from the outside of the house, but you can't get into the attic. What does it mean? Huge can of worms. If if there is a problem, you don't know. But these are all the questions that you have to ask before you even make an offer, right? And any legal issues with the city or on title. Like if you plan on doing it as an Airbnb, does the city not allow Airbnbs? Or does the city not allow you to change it into a commercial property if that's what you want to do? Or if you want to renovate it a certain way and they're like, no, can't be done. Lots of questions realtors can answer for you, or sorry, yeah, a lot of questions they can answer for you, but also a lot of questions the lawyers can answer for you, but you have to be able to ask those questions and don't hesitate to ask.
Absolutely. And also remember to think, what is your, what are you going to be using it for? If it's just for yourself, you're thinking about the Airbnb or having you know, a tenant in one of the rooms. Also, maybe you want to think down the road that you want to convert it into a rental. Or maybe just sell it off in, you know, a couple years, depending on where your situation is. So super important that you communicate this to your realtor, because they'll be able to give you more insights if they know what your long-term plan is.
Absolutely.
So, convert it. Yeah, this is good for this, for that, right?
Yes. And you know what? Sometimes, you know, I'm sorry to make this like a political statement, but sometimes realtors don't, you know, depending on the kind of realtor you pick, they might not know the answers because they've never done a renovation, or they don't know the area very well. So like in my case, I wanted to buy an income property, and I talked to my builder that I'm friends with. And I said, hey, listen, I'm looking at this lot and it's on this street. He goes, no, don't ever buy on that street. It's got a very low water table. You're never going to get the permits from the city. So right away, I knew who can I ask? Who knows the area? What information can I get? And, you know, you might not know these questions before you ask. So that's why you pick a good realtor to say, hey, what could the potential issues be? And they should be able to answer. And you'll know if you have a good realtor or not, if they can answer you truthfully. Sorry.
But remember that you have to be very, very, very clear about what the use of this property is going to be, because otherwise you don't have, like, you don't give the realtor the power to say, oh, okay, so you wanted to use it for this. Let me investigate if I don't know, or trying to figure out how this could be a good fit for your situation, right?
Right. And guess what? Buyer beware. So this is the thing. Once you have already purchased it, you're on your own. So that's what I want to reiterate. Ask the questions before you offer on the property, because you don't know what's going on behind the walls, under the walls, over the walls. Like there could be so many issues, and I don't want to scare you, but do your research. Okay, onwards. So this is inside now. So you go see this beautiful house. You go, oh my gosh, I can see the potential. I want to do this. I want to do that. And removing walls and doors is a question I get almost on a daily basis when I show a house. I would like to move this. I would like an open concept. I would like to make the kitchen bigger. How do I do it? Can this wall go down? I don't like that door. I want to take it away, or I want to add a door. Oh my goodness. It's so hard to recover from a structural issue after you do it. So you have to talk to the experts. Please, I'm begging. I have my hands up. Please do not do it until you talk to an expert. Do you have any experience with removing a wall that wasn't?
I do. I have in my very first property, I removed, it was actually half a wall. So I knew that it could be taken out, right?
Yeah.
It's not issue. However, what I did is when I finished the attic, there was a wall that they were working on it just to refinish it. And the contractor leaned over. And what I didn't know is that they put a 1/4 inch drywall instead of a 1/2 inch. So he put his elbow through it. And so we had to take that down, right? And what happened is, what I found is people decided to leave a TV that wasn't working, a whole bunch of garbage inside the wall. So it was like
the wall.
inside the wall because he opened it, he broke the wall. I said,
Right.
take the wall down to put a new sheet. And when he opened it up, it says, come and look at this. And there
That
was
must have been a very
wall.
deep wall to have an old TV in there.
It was a deep wall, but you know, it was a TV, a table, a whole bunch of parts. I'm like, oh, what is going
Well,
on?
but see, in my experience too, I bought a house that there was a fire in the house, and that was not disclosed to me. So after the fact, I inherited it. I couldn't go back. Maybe I could go back and ask for some kind of money off after the fact, but for me to find the buyers or the sellers and to chase them for that, you know, what's it worth? I just said, you know what, it's not structural. It was a small fire, and there was still, you could see the smoke on the beams and stuff. But like, to really understand that, you're opening a can of worms. You open up that wall, it might not just be a structural issue. You might see other things that you weren't aware of, which is either good or bad.
Yeah.
And to me, it's always good for me to have the knowledge. I just want the knowledge. So even though it's bad, I can figure it out. So that's one of the other steps too. I don't know if it's the next one. No, not yet. But anyway, so let's move on. So moving plumbing is a big thing for me too. If you can, so number one, you'll save money if you don't have to move the plumbing around. If you like the layout, let's say for the bathroom or a kitchen, I mean, that's where the plumbing is. But if you can use, obviously this picture is fantastic. I love it because it's modernized, but it really isn't much different plumbing wise.
The plumbing is still in the same place. In some cases, you have no choice but to move it. But if you do have to do that, make sure that you get an expert to do it, because if you're not sure and you learn how to do it, you might damage other things before you can actually move it.
And you know what? One of my favorite, this is something that my buyers know about me. If I buy if it says on the listing that the basement is unfinished, I would actually prefer my buyers to buy that, because you can see lots of things when you go down there. You can see how the joists are run. So if you need to change the plumbing and you're fitting your plumbing in between, I know I'm getting technical now, but you know your joists are running in the right direction, that you can swap out the plumbing. If it's not here, it can be over, and then you can still run it the same length. Fantastic. That makes your life so much easier, and plumbers love that too. Yeah. So I know that's
a very costly thing. So, you know, you have to really think about it, because if the layout doesn't work for you, or you want to change it because of the way that you want to arrange,
right?
Really think it through, because moving plumbing and electrical, it's always big money.
So. Right. Unless you're gutting the whole house, then it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah,
right?
Exactly. Of course.
Yeah. So we're not talking about that. Yeah. Okay. So now this is my favorite thing. And it's the hardest thing in my opinion. Keep calm and carry on, but always have a plan B. And sometimes it's very difficult to, you know, I have a vision in my head. I really want to do this. This is my goal. It's my dream. And then you're like, oh, you know, somebody comes along, contractor, whatever, plumber, you know, somebody says, no, sorry, we can't do it. But then you say, okay, I'm flexible enough to say, I need a plan B. What am I going to do? So this is always from start to finish, from purchase to renovating to what do I do with the property? So, you know, shit hits the fan sometimes, right?
And it's like with any plan, remember, whether you're planning your finances or your home renovation, anything, it is just what you want to do. And sometimes it's a wish list. And you gotta be, okay, so if I cannot do this, what else can I do to make this happen? Or maybe you're gonna have to deal with it without it altogether in some cases.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So that's the hardest for me, is to have a plan B, but you hope for the best.
Yep.
Expect the worst. Pray to God or whoever, you know, keep your fingers crossed, whatever it is. But always have a plan B, because you never know when something happens. Let's say that's why the contingency, that's why we were talking about the contingency plan. If you are prepared, and like Araceli said, you have that plan before you start and say, okay, you're not going to go through every scenario in your head at the beginning, because you don't know what might happen.
Correct.
But if you have a plan B and you can convince yourself, I can find a way. Actually, I'm dealing with this right now. but I'm not going to tell you what's going on. But as you
Okay.
know, like my background is my beautiful Prince Edward County home. I don't know if you can see way in the back, I have a barn and I want to renovate it. And I currently need another option for something. So that's all I'm going to say. And
Yeah.
if you really want to know, you can like leave me
Every
a
time
message
that
and
you
I'll
do
send you.
something new, right? Especially if you're not in that business. If you're not a contractor, you're a contractor, you know exactly how to deal with it. But if you're
Right.
not, then the options will come up and you say, oh, I was supposed to do this, now I can't because there is something on the ground that I cannot move.
Right.
And I wanted to put it that way.
Yeah.
So
And
then
one
I
of the,
ask.
I'll give you my scenario for plan B. So this is what's happening. I want to do something. And what I was saying before about the water table being really high. So in Prince Edward County, the water table is very high, but also nobody can dig really deep because it's all rock. So it's all rock, bedrock. So unless you have some TNT and you want to blow up, you can't go down maybe 2-3 feet. Like that's
Yeah.
it, right?
Oh my
And
goodness,
it doesn't matter.
You're dangerous, Colette.
I'm dangerous, right? I should not be left alone. But anyway, so I'm not blowing anything up. Don't worry, I don't have to do anything. But it's also to say, okay, I have to know. If I didn't know the area and I said, oh, I want to dig down and I want to have like a 10-foot basement,
Yeah.
if I was a good realtor, I would tell my clients right at the beginning, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You're so close to water. It's all bedrock. So the county is never going to give you a permit to do that either. So what's your plan B? So, things like that where you're not really thinking about it, but you should always think. Anyway, so that's plan B. That's my big, avoidance. Try and avoid not having a plan B. Always have a plan B. So, and then this I think is your favorite. This is your favorite.
Yeah. Yeah,
Keep
keep
it
it
simple.
simple. It's always the best plan, right? Because
Yes.
trying to complicate things, knocking down walls and doing all of these big things. However, it is, remember, the main use of the house, it determines sometimes the how you're going to improve the property. If you
Right.
plan to stay there in the house for 5 years, of course, I would like to make it the best for my own use, for what I like and style, all of that kind of thing. But if you know that it's something that you plan to leave or maybe rent in the future, you may want to
Right.
leave not so over improved. Like I really like those doors. Those are kind of my
Yes.
favorite ones.
Yeah.
This is a trendy thing. Like this is really
Right.
trendy right now.
Right.
Would it
Yeah.
be okay in the next 5 years, 10 years? I don't know.
Right. And I'll give you a really, really simple example too of being trendy. So let's say I really like angels. That's my thing. I love angels. I love the angel pictures. I love pink. I love pink angels. So
Oh dear.
like I'm giving you an example. It's not like don't send me any angels and pink stuff.
Yes.
So my point is, when you have this idea in your head of like, oh my gosh, I just want to see angels in my whole house and I was to see pink and all the walls pink and everything like that. So when you think of reselling it or keeping things simple, you're not going to go and buy thousands of dollars worth of angel tiles that you have to rip out eventually because nobody else other than you wants pink angels. So like things like that, you really have to say, okay, if I do the bathroom and I do white tile that they're, it's timeless, but then I'll have like, my walls painted pink, that's easy to change. I can have pictures of angels, that's easy to change. You take all that stuff with you. So when you think of the actual improvement of the house, and maybe pink angels are going to be trendy, I don't know, but it's something that it's very personal. Try not to do trendy things, very personal, highly personal things that can't be taken out easily. So things like these doors, I love them. You love them. They've only started the trend, in the last couple of years. The trend might last just like every other trend for another few, maybe 10 years, let's say. But if you think I'm going to sell this house in 10 years and I have to deal with this strange door hardware, it's very heavy. It doesn't match the style of my modern house. Why would you put like a farm style, that's what I wrote, this farmhouse style in a very modern house. It doesn't make sense to the structure and the architecture of the actual building. So keep that in mind. Talk to an architect, talk to a designer too before you do these things. And there might be alternatives. It might be great to do a pocket door in this case, and it matches the rest of the house. That's why I chose this picture. It's so different than the other door. Why would anybody even do this? You know, to me, it makes no sense, but I understand people like it. It's trendy. It's cool. It's a focal point. It's a feature. So if you can stand it in 20 years from now, it's hard to think about that.
Yeah.
But we all have to think about resale.
Well, this goes hand in hand with the budget, right? Because
all of it goes hand in hand.
Of course, a regular door will cost you a lot less money than this type of door.
Of course.
So what do you want to do, right? And remember, it's all about the use and how you're going to be living with it, and if it's practical or not.
Right. If it's for you and you love it, and you think, you know what, the cost outweighs whatever trend, then do it. But if you know this is going to be for a rental, and they might ruin that door, and they might pull the door off the hinges, and it's going to fall, and who knows what. Like, those are things that you really have to keep in mind before you go ahead and do something like that. Is it really practical? So I think Araceli and I are both on the practical end of things, but we also love beauty, and you know, it does make for an easier sale when you have really cool features like this. So don't get me wrong, I'm not against these, you know. No,
it's actually, I really love it. I don't have a space for those in my current house, so but
well, guess what? I'm actually doing one, and I'm like, it's not even up yet, and I'm already regretting, thinking, oh my gosh, am I making a mistake? But I don't care. I love them. I'm going to do it. But keep in mind, it might not be great in 20 years from now.
Yeah.
So that's it. We're done. So thank you for joining us.
This is awesome, Colette. Thank you so much for putting the presentation together. I love, because it's easier for people to look at something, right? So when you look at it, you kind of get the impression.
Right. And you can save the video too, or you can always come back to this YouTube channel and you know, go through the steps again. And if you have any questions, this is the one thing that we love answering your questions, because if you have the question, how many other people have it as well?
Somebody else does. Yeah. So absolutely. And that's what we give you, just a little bit tidbits on what you can do in different subjects. So whatever interests you. So keep the questions coming, and we will see you next week. Thanks, Colette.
Yay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.